and welcome. Today's practice is called Sweet Surrender, and I'd like you to just surrender to the postures, surrender to gravity, and we're going to really calm everything down. And the focus will be on contentment. In yoga it's known as santosha, it's one of the niyamas. So contentment is the purpose of our practice today. So most of the postures will be about 3 minutes long. You can stay in them as long as you wish. If it's too intense, come back out of them. Listen to your bodies. We're going to start straight away by laying down. There'll be no standing postures. All the postures will be laying down, and maybe 1 or 2 seated. So just lay down. Make sure you've got plenty of cushions around you, or bolsters. If you have bolsters, they're always nice to have. If you want to have some soothing music, then have your own play tracks, and I will be with you throughout the practice. I will remind you and give you warning as to when to come out of the postures. So just settle down with all the props that you need. You don't even need a yoga mat, you can just lay on your carpet, but just as long as you've got some cushions around you. So I'll explain about the practice as we go through it. It's Sweet Surrender. So lay down on your mats. Now, first of all, have your feet flat onto the mat and just bring your awareness to the abdomen. Bring your awareness to the abdomen. And notice as you place your hands on your abdomen, as you inhale, your belly will rise. And as you exhale, your belly will fall. So we're just really going to connect with the breath, because we know that yoga is all about breath, mind and body. And then we're moving into our very first posture. It's known as Banasana. It's shaped like a banana. So we're just simply going to stretch the legs nice and long. Take your arms up over your head and bring the elbows together by having your hands on each elbow. And then we're just going to draw the shoulders to the right. Just keep walking to the right until you feel that nice stretch and opening on the left side of the body. And then we'll do exactly the same with the legs. We'll walk the legs to the right. And it's getting a little bit tougher as we do this. And you're right into the hips, the intercostal muscles, and the IT band down the outside of that left thigh. And we're here for approximately 3 minutes. So we do need to just observe one thing. If the elbows are clasped with the hands and you get any tingling in those shoulders, then maybe bring your left arm down, or if you have shoulder issues, maybe bring your left arm down and keep the right arm up. So just check out what's happening in your body. And if you want to walk a little bit further to get a little bit of a deeper posture, and if your body allows you to do that, certainly do that. But notice if your left buttock lifts up when you do this. We want to keep that left buttock pushing down a little bit more into the mat, so we can really get this opening on the left side of the body. And then one more option, if you want to, you can cross one ankle over the other. It doesn't matter which one, just see what feels good to you. And then we stay in stillness. And this is the magic of yin. As we stay in stillness, the body, connective tissue and fascia, has an opportunity to open. And as we stay in stillness, we can be mindful as well, really mindful of what's happening right now, at this moment. And if we can, we bring our attention to the breath. And we can almost meditate now on the breath as we're in this posture. A couple more breaths. And if you have crossed your legs, uncross them. And then just walk your elbows and shoulders back to that neutral position. Then walk the legs back to the neutral position. Bring your hands down by the side of your bodies. And place your feet flat onto the mat. And draw the knees into the chest and have a little roll around on that lower back. So it should feel quite nice. We're going to do exactly the same on the opposite side. It's 3 minutes again. So long arms, grab hold of those elbows, take your time, there's no rush. We walk to the left with the shoulders first until we find what we call an edge. We want to find our edge where we know we're in the posture, but we're not in pain. And then we'll walk those legs to the left as well. And one side is often more challenged than the other. Now draw your attention to your right buttock and draw that right buttock down. It wants to lift up, don't let it, just draw it down. And then again, if and when you want to make it a little bit more challenging, if you want to find a different edge, then you could cross one ankle over the other. This is my challenge side. And you can walk a little bit further if you want to. And then we settle back into that stillness. And we're mindful of what's happening in the body. And we're also mindful of what's happening in the mind. Is it busy tonight? If you're practicing through the daytime, avoid the temptation to make a shopping list and a list of things to do. We just want to be in the moment. So again, if you want to have another little edge, feel free to walk a little bit more to the left, or if you're already at your edge, stay right here in stillness. So be really mindful of what's happening right now. Maybe you have some sounds and you may want to meditate on sound. Maybe there's a clock ticking. Maybe you want to meditate on your breath. Or perhaps the sensations that are being created right now. Just being in the moment. We have completed our 3 minutes. If you have your legs crossed, uncross them. First we walk the elbows back. Then we walk the legs back. Then we bring the hands down by the side of the body. Everything's nice, slow in yin. Bring your feet flat to the mat. And then draw the knees into the chest and have that little roll around on the spine. We're going to place the feet flat back onto the mat again. And we have Another 3-minute hold. Moving into the hips. There's lots of options. You're going to take your right leg up to the ceiling and place the ankle across the left knee. Now have the foot flexed so that the toes are pointing to the ceiling to make sure that this knee is nicely protected. Your options are to stay here for 3 minutes. Your surrender, sweet surrender. Or if you want to, if you choose to, you have created a triangle. Place your right hand through the triangle, lift your left leg up and take hold of the back of the left thigh. And you may want to stay here. It's a little bit more challenging. You may get some pinching in that right front hip. If you do, perhaps bring that foot back down again and stay with this one for a while and see how it progresses. Maybe you'll lift up again and see if it is a little bit easier. So whichever one you want. And we want to think about the spine now, the ligaments in the spine all spreading across the mat. Sweet surrender. Being aware of gravity. And of course there is always another edge if you want to take it. You can take your hands in front of the kneecap but below the kneecap. And now we have another deeper edge. Into the hips, somewhat into the hamstrings of the right leg. And we surrender. You may have wanted to pop a cushion underneath your head if that feels more appropriate. There's a very well-known phrase, silence is golden. If you have silence, it is golden. It allows us to explore within, checking what's happening in our minds, in our bodies. A couple more breaths. And if the left foot is lifted, we'll place it down. We'll take the right foot down as well. And we'll bring the knees into the chest again and have a little roll around. And then we'll do exactly the same on the other side. So 3 minutes, feet flat onto the mat. Left leg is rising, ankle over the knee, foot is flexed, toes pointing to the ceiling to protect that left knee. And we stay here in sweet surrender in option 1. Possibly that pillow under our head. We want to feel that edge. It's not restorative. We want to be aware that the body is working. So if you're not in your deepest edge, perhaps through the triangle with the left hand, around the back of the thigh with the right, and lift the right leg up. And again, we check out whether this is a deeper edge. And we return to that stillness. And if you are seeking that deeper edge, perhaps in front of the knee, just below the kneecap, and we have a deeper edge. stillness, awareness, and time are the magic ingredients of your yin practice. Time to just be. Have you drifted away from your yoga mat? Bring yourself back to the moment. Which side is more challenged by this posture? Couple more breaths. And then we'll release that right foot down and the left foot down. You might have a chance to have a few oohs and ahs. And then bring the knees into the chest and rock and roll. So lots going to be happening in the hips in this practice. Check out how you're feeling and take your options as we progress. Feet flat onto the mat. It's again 3 minutes. We're going to draw the right knee into the chest and then take your hands behind the back of that right knee on the lower thigh. And then we're going to draw that knee towards the right armpit. And we're going to simply stay here if you want to. If you want to go a little bit deeper, we're going to slide the hands up towards the ankle, and then your right foot is looking at the ceiling, as if you're going to walk on the ceiling. This is a little bit more challenging. So remember, you can stay here, drawing that right knee into the armpit and have just a bent knee. Or foot facing to the ceiling. If you're here, perhaps you may want to take hold of the outsides of the feet. Maybe you're there. Don't worry if you're not. It's all a journey. It's all our own personal bodies. Some postures will be wonderful for you, and some will be completely unobtainable. And we accept that in yoga. It's all about acceptance. So now we have that sweet surrender. Now even in this posture you can go a little bit deeper if you want to. So if you're wanting a deeper edge, the left foot is on the mat, and we can just slide that left leg along the mat, have a straight leg. And now it's a lot more challenging in the left leg along with the right hip. And then we settle back into the surrender of the posture. And no matter what posture you're in, no matter what option you have taken, if you are feeling it, then it's working. So as long as you're feeling it, know that it's working, whichever posture you have chosen to take. And then we return to that stillness, that quiet calm that Yin offers to us. A couple more breaths. If your left leg is long, bring that left foot flat onto the mat. Release both feet to the floor. Draw the knees in for the knee hug. Roll around. And then exactly the same with the opposite leg. So first, feet flat onto the mat, we draw the left knee in. We take the hands behind the left knee on the lower thigh. We draw the left knee towards the left armpit. And some of us will stay right here. Great posture. Some of us will have the left foot facing to the ceiling as if you're going to walk on the ceiling. Draw down a little bit more with the knee towards the left armpit. And if it's appropriate, perhaps grab hold of the ankle or the outer edges of the foot and draw the knee down a little bit more until you find your edge. You settle into this posture. And an opportunity again to observe which side is more challenged. And then if we want a deeper edge, we can slide the right heel down, long leg, right leg, and we have an edge in the right leg, right hip, and the left hip. And back to that sweet surrender. Nowhere to go, nothing to do, just be here in the moment, in the knowledge that we're opening up the hips, opening up the body, re-energizing the body. If you can feel it, whichever posture, it's working. For your last couple of breaths, bring your right foot to the mat and then draw your left foot down to the mat. And then again we'll bring both knees into the chest and have that rock and roll. I'm going to stay in this position a couple of minutes, this posture. We're going to take the knees outwards and draw the knees, both knees, right knee into right armpit, left knee into left armpit. Maybe have your hands behind and just draw in that manner, drawing the tailbone down, but if it lifts, don't worry too much. And maybe onto the ankles, we pop those feet up to the ceiling, and maybe stay here, or maybe outer edge of the feet or inner edge of the feet, whichever feels appropriate to you. And we draw those knees down closer into the armpits. And we just surrender to the gravity, to the earth beneath us. And you're either going to stay there for another minute, or If you want to be a bit more challenged and your hamstrings are super flexy, we'll straighten the legs and we'll stay here for a minute. So remember, there's so many different options. There's just hands behind the knees, there's hands on the ankles, there's hands on the outer or inner edges of the foot, or there is the straight leg option. Nice, easy breathing. Just being aware now of the inner thigh area, the hamstrings if you've got straight legs. A couple more breaths. And whichever position you're in, bring the legs together, bring the knees into the chest, that little rock and a roll, and feet flat onto the mat. We're going to come up into a seated position. Take your time. Just going to roll over to one side and come back up into a long-legged seated position. So we're going to move the flesh from our sit bones, move it back. So really move it back and have nice wide legs. Now this is where we're going to need some props if we want to. So you can have cushions, pile up the cushions in front of you, or bolsters. If you have tight hamstrings and you find that you're not coming forward at all, then perhaps sit on a cushion and lift up your hips nice and high, and then you'll tilt your pelvis and we'll come forward a little bit deeper. So take your props, whichever you want to choose. Take an inhale and exhale, surrender to the posture. Just surrendering to the posture. So working with contentment, santosha. The feeling of being content with what we have. Often we hope for a particular result to come from our actions, and we are often so disappointed. But there's no need to despair. Rather, we should accept what has happened. That is the real meaning of santosha, to accept what happens. Instead of complaining about things that go wrong, we can accept what happens and learn from it. So I'm sure we're all having to accept an awful lot at the moment with the restrictions that are being placed on us. So we just have to accept it for the moment, and hopefully we will learn from it as well. There is an old Arab proverb, I complained that I had no shoes until I met a man who had no feet. Again, we just surrender, release to the posture without judgment, just awareness. As we practice with our yoga, it allows you to achieve a sense of wholeness in your life, where you do not feel that you're constantly trying to fit the broken pieces together. Yoga allows you to find an inner peace, and yin is particularly good for this. You may perhaps find a new kind of freedom in the body and in the mind that you may not have ever known existed. we're starting to come out of the posture nice and slowly. We're rising all the way up, nice and slowly. And bend the knees and bring the legs straight in front of you. So nice Dandasana posture. Going to take a little back bend here. So with the legs nice and straight, fingertips behind us, pointing away or pointing to your buttocks, which feels more appropriate for your wrists. Lift up your hearts and have the back bend. And then slowly come back to neutral. And then we're going to take the legs wide again. We're going to have a nice wide-legged twist. So take an inhale, lengthen up. And on the exhale, twist to the right. Bring your right hand right behind you. Straighten the spine, take an inhale. And on the exhale, twist a little bit more. We want to have the spine nice and tall when we're twisting. So keep thinking of tall spines. Nice, easy breathing. And then slowly we'll come back to the center. We'll lengthen through the spine again on exactly the same movement. Take an inhale, lengthen before you twist. On the exhale, we'll twist. Really nice. Straight back twist. You may have to bend your knees if hamstrings are quite tight. Nice, easy breathing. Focusing on the spine in the twist. And then slowly come back to the center. Nice, long, straight backs. Pick up the knees. Bring the feet together. Again, another great posture for hip opening. We're going to roll forward into that flexion again. Remember, if you have serious spine issues, you're going to keep your back fairly straight and just work the hips on their own. No serious issues, lots of cushions, bolsters, whatever you want. Rolling forward into your 3-minute forward flexion. And then we bring our attention to the moment, being mindful. Your focus, your breath, sensations. Do you want to find another edge? Are you already in your edge? All without pain, just acknowledge that you're in that position, that you're in that posture. Notice how maybe the sensations change as you stay in the posture for a longer time. Remember, there should be no pain, no tingling, no burning, no shooting pains, just a deep awareness that you are just outside of your comfort range and you know you're in the posture. Your last few breaths in this posture. And then we slowly start to rise, nice and slowly, taking our time to rise up, picking the back of the knees up and bringing the legs nice long in forward. And we have that back bend again, so we lift up the heart and we have that nice back bend again. And then come back to neutral. And again we lift up the heart and come back to neutral. So we're going to lay on our tummies now, so have your bolsters or your props available, whichever you want to have, whichever you have at home. If you do have bolsters, or if you need to buy a bolster, I recommend getting a buckwheat one, so it's much more softer for you but still firm. So laying on your tummies now. Using your support, your bolster. Now, if it's all still a bit too much, especially if you have back issues and you feel a bit cautious about doing back bends, remember back bends are healthy for you, but as long as we do them with awareness. So bring your hands underneath your forehead and settle down. This is your sweet surrender option if you don't want to do a progressive back bend sequence. It's still a back bend. Now if you want to go a little bit deeper, you can bring that cushion or the bolster, drape your arms over, and we can settle here. And again, there's always another edge, so we can take any props away from us if we want to, and we can bring ourselves into a posture called Sphinx. So elbows underneath shoulders, pubic bone on the mat, and we lift and have a deeper back bend. So the Yin Yoga is a wonderful practice, especially for athletes who are working their muscles all the time, because our muscles are relaxed in our Yin practice. We're working with those joints. But it's also a wonderful practice to make us feel renewed. So think of a nice spring flower and a nice dry autumn leaf. We want to feel like that spring flower, not like the dry autumn leaf, which is all stiff. We want to feel like we can move and stretch and open. And this is what Yin is going to do for you. It's going to really improve your flexibility, your mobility, but it also calms the mind at the same time. There are cells in your body called fibroblasts, and this Yin practice stimulates fibroblast cells, and they are the cells that create collagen. So body is being very well hydrated through our Yin postures as we stay in the postures for such a long time. And through that hydration we improve our skin texture, and we also have a younger, healthier, more flexible body. So lots of benefits from Yin. So feel free to return down if you want to. Or if you want to find another edge, we can draw the heels in towards the buttocks, and we now have a deeper edge. So there are also cells called osteoblasts. And these cells create cartilage and bone. So we're strengthening our bones through the Yin practice. And really helping the degeneration of the tissues. We're stressing the tissues of the body as well. You can do yin every day because the muscles are not active, so you can do yin every single day. And in point of fact, you can do this posture every day. You can read a book in this posture. You can watch the TV in this posture. Nice, easy breathing. And then we release. And we'll come back to that very first posture. So bring your hands underneath your shoulders, and we don't push with the hands. We first lift up the heart and the head, and then a gentle push through the hands. We rise up through cobra back bend. We come onto all fours. Now we will need to stop here because the connective tissue of the fascia of the body will ask us to. So just stop here for a second or two, and then we'll simply walk the hips back. Now, if your buttocks don't come all the way down, have a cushion and pop cushions in between, or have cushions at the front. So it's a surrender posture, child posture. We settle into child posture. And from here we'll rise and we'll lay on our backs, and we'll finish our practice with a little twist. So it's always nice to finish your practice with a twist. It just restores the equilibrium of the body. Bring your feet flat onto the mat, draw your knees in and have that little rock and roll. So they're not 3-minute twist, about 1 minute, maybe 2 minutes. We'll see how we go. There are lots of options. Let's take our options first of all. Feet flat onto the mat, arms wide. We simply drop the knees to the right. Option 1. Option 2 is knees over chest, and we drop the knees to the right, but we land a little bit towards the right elbow, so getting more of a spinal rotation. And in option 3, we take the left leg over the right, interweave the legs or pretend, whichever, and then we take that movement. We can also have cushions underneath the knees to support us at any of the twists, to make sure that we can surrender to the posture. So if the feet don't interweave, you may want to go back to that very first one. So just see what feels good for you and settle. Now the head also can turn in a different direction if you wanted to. It could be straight towards the ceiling. You can look to your right, or you can look to the left. See what feels nice. And again we have sweet surrender. You're going to come out of that posture, so unravel if you're raveled in twisted roots. Bring the feet flat to the mat. Lift up the buttocks a little bit on the lower back and just settle the spine back down again. Knees into chest, and we have that little rock and roll. And then we take our options again. So we have the arms wide. We simply drop the knees to the left and stay here. Or we bring them over the chest and we hover down and then take them closer to the left elbow and stay here. Or we have the twisted roots, so we cross the right over the left, Interweave, take it, inhale and exhale over. And then again we decide which way we want the head. And we surrender. And then we unravel if we're raveled. We bring our feet back flat to the mat. We lift up the buttocks and the lower back and just settle the spine down again. Knees into the chest for your final knee hug. And then feet flat. Feel free to stay here with the feet flat or nice long legs. Maybe put something warm on if you feel that you're going to be here for a while. Turn the palms up towards the ceiling. And we settle to the final sweet surrender. And then please feel free to stay here as long as you like. But while you are here, perhaps think about santosha, think about contentment, and all the things in your life that make you content. It may be just fresh sheets on the bed, or a hot cup of tea. What makes you content? Walking nature, the sight of a robin, and feel free to stay here as long as you like in that surrender, letting go. I'm going to take my leave of you, but please feel free to stay right where you are. If you're coming with me, come up to a seated position. Bring your hands in front of your heart. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining me. See you on the mat again. Santosha, contentment.